They been on their ass, bitch, I'm on the rail. I wrap it, I bag it, I pack it for sale. Got feeling on speed out, I hit me to chill. I give it a thrill, I put it on film. Niggas facade, get applaud, that ain't real. Come to my section and flex, we can tell. I got a show and she dipping them nails. I'm flipping my L's, I know they can tell. I did it too major, they hit me for favors. Been him since the cable was cut in the cradle. What's up, only right that I do it. Colossal until I'm a boss, so they want me to fail. Look, we prevail. Tell them to point out who said that they run it. Bitch, I'm on your tail. Know that they talking, they telling them tales. Just know how to tell, that shit for the sale. Yeah.
Honestly, I know it's hard to believe, but you have to trust me. It's got maximum taste and zero sugar.
Stop playing games, wooden boy.
No, I'm a real boy.
Pepsi Max. Maximum taste, zero sugar. Try and believe.
What do you see here? Maybe history, or maybe it's the future.
Amarti mi consola.
Tonali plug-in hybrid, a new charge of sportiness.
Good evening, everybody. How we doing? Hope we're doing fantastic today. We're back at it again for some awesome commentating for Ultimate Masters today. And we're back for round number 6 at the lovely track of Texas, the Circuit of Americas. Joining me once again is the lovely Mike. Mike, how are we doing today? And what are your thoughts and processes about this track? And what could we experience, if you know what I mean?
I mean, in terms of a track to watch and spectate, it's always been an absolutely cracking track to race at and spectate over. In terms of me actually driving this track, I absolutely can't stand this track personally, but it's going to be a very interesting one. Obviously, tyre temperature is a key thing to keep an eye out for around this track. If you get just a little bit wrong, that could affect the way you approach this race. And, of course, that long DRS down the back straight going to be very intriguing for these drivers to kind of not only get it right in terms of the team strategies, but also just timing the overtakes, because they need to get it done smooth and efficiently.
You know what? That is very true, and I would not disagree with that at all. My personal preference on this track, I actually like it. You know, it's quite a lot of fun. You got some massive straights. I say that like we got one mini straight, which is on the exit at turn 10 down to 11. But you got two massive straights, one at the start and finish, and then one on the exit at 11 down to 12. They're pretty awesome. The only part I struggle with on this track, it's going to be the part of the S section on the exit at turn 2, and then you go through all the way out to probably turn 9. You know, we've got the tricky left-handers, right-handers. You go here, you go there. That can be the struggle for myself, but apart from that, overall, a very exciting and fantastic race to watch. Commentating or racing, whatever it is, it's so fun. This track is just so much action, side by side, and it's all about what kind of wings you run as well. Obviously, because top speed and performance can be a good gain as well. A lot of drivers on the track right now, and also just some reminders and stuff like that. We have got I believe, a reserve team, VMV, to replace Team ASAC in the McLaren just for today. So we'll see how they get on and see what kind of quality racing and quality laps and racecraft they can show. So that's going to be quite interesting to watch. So that's going to be our main priority for today. And of course, some shout outs to our sponsors. Mike, do you want to give the sponsors some lovely shout outs whilst I have a look at the track and see who's going to be running a first quick lap around this track?
Yeah, absolutely. Massive shout out to our sponsors at Pepsi. Level Academy, and of course Alfa Romeo.
You know what? They are some obviously fantastic sponsors to get involved with and have a look at, really. If you like Pepsi or you want to buy a car, Alfa Romeo is the way to go. And of course, Level Academy couldn't get any better. And then, of course, for the team standings, which we'll show later on, probably towards the end of this race. Obviously, round 5 had some big changes as CPI overtake REL in the Constructors. And they now have 183 points. And P2 in the Constructors has 181. That's a massive, switch for the top 2. As we saw, Relentless always at the top. And then CPI out of nowhere just taking the top step now. But they're only separated potentially by only 2 points. So towards the end of the season, it could come down to the final wire and the final race once again. And there's also positions happening with P5 and P9, but more into that later, as we have the wonderful LNR team of Spec Lap on a lap right now. And riding on board with the driver so far, he's gone purple obviously in Sector 1 and Sector 2. That is because he's the first driver to set a benchmark at this track. So far, he's not looked too troubling, not too bad. Not had any massive moments. Double right-hander now before the final 2 turns of 19 and 20. Obviously, when you exit 20, you do get a little bit of a hint of the DRS as you finish your lap. So that might unsettle the car just a little bit. It might unbalance it, but nevertheless, spec across the line. It's a 132.5, and that's the benchmark the drivers have got to go for. Can anybody compete for it? Send up to the line. Only P2, a 133.3. Anybody else can you see, Mike? Anybody else at all?
We got a Mercedes coming for the final sector. I believe that's Matthias Roma coming for the final sector now as he's approaching the line. 102 in the middle sector, and he goes on provisional pole there by what's that, 1500 of a second, something like that, 15,000.
Yeah, let's have a quick look, shall we? Hey, that's pretty tight for pole position. I say that, and Ruby, and then it's Sweet Crown across the line. They're just smashing lap times right now, so it was a close quali, and then all of a sudden, it changes, but that is pretty close for P4 and P5. And also, you could say P6, but it's all happening right now. Frank's across the line, P1, a 131.8. Yeah, most drivers in the 131s, only 2 though. And so far, most of them in the 132, so we could see a lot more, hopefully improving. And throughout, getting their best times that they could possibly can do. Obviously, drivers starting a lap or entering the pit lane. But we've got, look at CPI once again, giving each other a lovely slip and a lovely toe. Working together is what we like to see. K-Gat, right then, down in the part now, which is the tricky section of the track in my opinion. Sector 3. And he does go purple in Sector 2, of course. The helpful use of his teammate, giving him a toe. And best of all, right? DRS. So powerful. He would have got so much speed in a straight line down that back straight. But there's a Ferrari, which has hopefully gone out of the way there and didn't impersonate his lap time. So Luca will be hoping his teammate could sap it on pole position. Let's have a look then. Around banker of 20 to the start and finish now. Is it pole? And it is. A 131.4. And that would probably been all the time gain on the back straight of 11 down to 12. Surely, because that toe and DRS is just really powerful this year on this game, which no one's complaining about because they can go a little bit faster. What would you say about yourself, Mike? Do you think it's more powerful in this game than other versions? But what would you say?
I mean, what's it called? I haven't played F1 from back in 2016, and if you played the games back then, you know how powerful the slipstream was back then. Obviously, on this game, it's not as powerful as 2016, but it's definitely a lot more powerful than previous incarnations of this game. So it's definitely one that these guys are going to have to make sure that they get perfectly right in terms of giving their teammates the slipstream.
Yeah.
And of course, in the chat, we got David saying hello in the chat. And how are you doing today, David?
Yes, David, how are you? Hope you're doing well, buddy. Once again, look at CPI. They're just giving each other that lovely toe. And Luca now on a lap. So how's he going to get on? Obviously his teammate giving it back, and purple in sector 2. So could we see another double, you could say, double front row lockout for CPI? Because to be honest, Mike, I think so far throughout this season that I've been slightly looking at, I believe they are the only team to really help each other out and give each other a tow down the back straights. I've not really seen any other team except CPI do that kind of teammate help. But what's interesting to note, even though Luca did go purple in sector 2, which could have been a bit of a fault and a lie from the game, he's only P7, a 132.3, so he's a bit far off of his teammate at the moment. The gap to his teammate is going to roughly be around about 0.8. So he must have lost some time somewhere. Probably sector 1, you know, that tricky S section. If you get it wrong, you're ending up somewhere else on the track. You're not going to end up, you know, quickest. You're probably going to end up invalidating or taking a curb way too much. So
Yeah, I
see what
mean,
happens.
yeah, it's one of those tracks where sector 1 and sector 3 are so crucial to get right, especially if your teammate's giving you the tow down the back straight, because that's obviously going to help out massively. As we see a Haas absolutely losing the back end, and I think that's Casanova there for NLR, losing the back end, crossing the line. And honestly, this teamwork from CPI, and you know, I've just been looking back over recent races, and you know, just give you an idea of how it's gone over the recent races. At the end of race 2, Relentless were on 90 points, CPI were on 54 points, and as we go into race number 6, CPI have gone up to 183 points, and Relentless have just about doubled their points tally from the first 2 races. So Relentless, early on, we're getting everything right, and in this middle part of the season, it's been swinging towards CPI.
They have been so far, and I think they'll be pretty chuffed and pretty happy with that, you know. Making good progress throughout the season, and they want to continue, though, that goal and that benchmark. You know, they want to be on the top, they want to be on their A game. So, like I say, they are showing at the moment that they are the team to watch out for as they strike and strive their way through the track and everything, really, you know, the crucial points of just helping each other out. And as I say that, we'll come back to it in just a second, as Donny Q from LNR has been completely blocked by a McLaren there, and I believe it was a Mercedes slightly involved, and not ideal. He had to back off there. He almost went to the back of the McLaren, and that's going to be turns, I believe, 16 and 17 in sector 3. Not ideal, but what can you do? You know, what can you do when you're trying to get around the track, but it's just too much traffic, and unfortunately, some drivers just don't realise that you're right behind them, and they just get to you at the wrong complete moment.
Yeah, and that's where track awareness has to be at its highest, especially in a section like Sector 3 around this circuit, because obviously, as you mentioned, you know, that turn 15 and obviously turn 13, 14, it's so easy just to get put off by a car that's just in front of you through those 3 corners especially. And the exit of turn 15, obviously, we all know it as the Gusta Wing corner, if you remember a few years back with Rosberg Hamilton scrapping out around here, and Rosberg getting that big snap at the rear. And it was the Gusta Wing corner from that moment on. Yeah, it's a key traction zone, so just having cars in front of you there just really compromises you on the exit of it.
It really does, and that's what can give the drivers a bit of a struggle, as we see something, I don't know how to say it. Margin, yeah, we'll go with that. P8 now, a 132.3, so he made a slight improvement, which isn't too bad. Bollet or Jeton about to come across the line. It's going to be P2, a 131.8, so he is definitely finding time out there, the grip, as the track slowly vamps up. Now, here's a team that we're going to keep our eye on for today, which is the McLaren of VMV. So, Lyles, I think that's how you say her name, goes P16 at 134.2. So not ideal to begin with, but he is P16. So what can his teammate do? Noz right now, down in 11. He's going to get the lovely, useful DRS on the exit of 11. Now, I say that, and down to 12. It looks like he forgot to open his wing, but he is quite low on the battery, so I don't know if he's actually going to try and set a benchmark here. If he did, it won't be a very competitive lap time, shall we say.
Nah, I think he's just done a lap, possibly invalidated towards the end, and he's on a bit of a cool-down lap. But, I mean, if Norris just gets to the line, just make sure he has something on the board, because that is worth quite a lot, just getting something on the board. Obviously, another thing to bring up here tonight, obviously, another key thing is, obviously, Team Velocity have to serve a qualifying ban here tonight. So that's another thing that we have to kind of dive into a little bit.
Yes, I did forget about that. That's one thing I did forget to mention. Yes, Team Velocity having to serve a quali ban. Obviously not ideal, but sometimes it happens, and you just got to, get on with it and get throughout the race. But with Team Velocity, we have seen their race pace can be up there. So we'll just wait and see what they can produce today. Anybody else on a lap? His boy on a lap in the Williams. It looks like he's got the battery, but he's 4 seconds down. So I'll take that as a no, as he's quite slow in that sector. So that just shows that he's definitely not on a lap. Hendricks, he's not on one either. He might be either going into pit lane or burning fuels. He's got quite a bit of battery there, so we'll keep an eye out for him. Might go back on board with him in just a second. The Williams back into the pit lane. Go back on board to Hendricks to see if he's going to start a lap. What's it going to be? Around the final second to last turn, and he's coming into the pit lane, so he won't be doing another lap, shall we say. Senna on a push lap, but never mind, he is done and dusted. He'll be back into the pit lane very shortly. P15 at this moment at 132.9, so the grid quite close from P6 P15 up to 5th in the 132s, even though 5th is almost in the 131s. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4 drivers in the 131s, so it's looking like a close grid, but just where you put yourself and the margin of where you are, shall we say, on the track, as there's 2 minutes and 50 seconds to go of qualifying. So we're going to see today if anyone might improve for pole position and challenge, for that pole. Could we see CPI back-to-back, potentially? 1 and 2, would you say, Mike? Is that possible? Or is it not, due to the fact that Luca had you could say, a scruffy lap? Or maybe he's not, too... How should I say it? Maybe his racecraft isn't great on this track, because I know some drivers will struggle. I believe that the Ferraris should be up there, but it looks like they're not too keen or too confident with the track. Or do you think we could see, I want to see Luca up at the top, P3, P2, P1, but do you think he's got what it takes?
I mean, this is the big question, obviously. Obviously, Luca's currently down in P9 here in qualifying. Definitely needs to find a lot more time out there on track, and it's interesting because obviously starting on the front row, I mean, as what we had last week, and have both CPI drivers on the front row to get us underway, and also taking home a 1-2 finish out of that. It's one of those where if you're up there, you can work together, and we saw them work together very well last week, the CPI drivers, but Luca could make his way from 9th up the grid. I mean, this is not a incredibly difficult track to make overtakes happen, so definitely could get himself up there in the race.
That is very true, and I realised that Dan was on the lap, but I didn't realise till now. And he's about to cross the line. He's looking very good so far. It's up to the line. It's a 132.0. The second driver, or should I say, second driver, sorry, to be ever so close into the 131s. And I believe that will be Dan's qualifying done and dusted. But now we head back down to P number 19 of Don in that Alpine, racing for LRN, to see if he can get a benchmark because he hasn't actually set a benchmark. So really, this will be his benchmark for the race, as it's 1 lap. 1 lap he gets to do a perfect lap to put him somewhere up high on the grid. The track right now on that map is looking very, very busy, but if drivers want to get a lap time done now, this is their moment. They've got to go. Otherwise, they may miss the clock, which isn't ideal, because I know a few league racing events, if you leave it too soon when you're trying to create a gap and you miss the clock, it can be quite gutting, and that's when you could miss out a few places if drivers start to improve. And right now, Don in turn number 19, and then at 20 at the final corner here at Texas. Is he going to be able to contend for a high position? Let's find out what the LNR driver can do, and it's P11. A 132.3. That's not a bad lap at all. And Nos has invalidated. That'll be it. That'll be them done and dusted. P19 is what they'll be starting for the race. Can the wonderful AlphaTauri K-Gat driver continue his push and improve? He can. Look at that. A 131.4 as we have Dan across the line. It's going to be only P5, 132.0. Not really an improvement there. Aston Martin didn't really change. Same for the Haas and same for Margie, I believe. Frankster across the line. It's a 131.6. Not too shabby and not too bad there. We've got a lot of drivers coming across the line now. Some Mercedes driver. Roma up to the line. It's only P15 an improvement, but I don't really think he gained on any positions there. So it's going to be a 132.5. Alfa Romeo across the line. Where does he slot into? Didn't really see a switch there, so I don't think Didn't really find any improvement there. So he'll be starting P6, unfortunately. But can anybody else finding time? Obviously, Luca starting P8. So unfortunately, it's not going to be back-to-back 1-2s for CPI. So Luca with a lot of work to do to try and, help out the team and try and push for points. But, the race is along. So just improve on that and see how you get on.
I mean, the key thing for Luca, obviously, and for CPI looking at this, is that there's no team has actually out-qualified them as a pairing.
That's true.
In the grid thus far. Because obviously, Sweetground's teammate is down in 18th. Obviously, that's Relentless, and they're the ones who they're battling. So they've already got an advantage on Relentless. But I'll let you run through the qualifying results.
I can do, and look at that. It's a mighty gap, to be honest. Actually, K-Gat P1 in the AlphaTauri, a 2/10 gap. I think that's the biggest gap so far we've seen throughout the season, because we know at the start of the season it was quite close on the grid, but now we're getting through the season a bit more. Gaps starting to open up, and drivers probably not liking this track at all. Frank P2, a 131.6, and like I said, he's 2/10 off of P1 at the moment, so he's got some work to do. And then obviously Sweet Crown in that Red Bull, a 131.7, is only 3/10 behind. But looking down at the rest of the grid, everybody is going to be within a second down to P14. So quite a close qualifying grid. Some of the drivers already in the 132s, some in the 131s. It's a mixed kind of lap time. But like everyone says, you can be fastest on the track, but can you have good race pace and faster in the race? Because obviously qualifying race pace can be different from your race pace, if that somewhat makes sense without being a bit too confusing. But if you kind of get the memo, you kind of get what I mean. So we'll see how they perform and crack on with today then.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, like in terms of just qualifying pace, now it's great to have qualifying pace around you, but if you can't back that up with good, consistent race pace, then there's not much point in it. You're just going to be at the front and then falling backwards. And honestly, another thing to keep an eye out with around this circuit is, of course, time penalties. Very easy to pick them up. Very easy to drop down the order late in the race when, obviously, 28 laps. Safety cars are quite prominent around here. And also, this is one of the tracks where you could see some weather conditions play a part. So there's a lot of variables coming into Dakota tonight.
Yes, indeed there is. And that's what we love to watch. and hopefully predict some rain, but we know drivers are not a big fan of the rain, not too keen. So hopefully there'll be a dry race, so like I said, no one's unhappy towards the end, like, oh man, there was rain on like 5 laps before the end, and yeah, they won't be quite happy with that. So anyways then, yes, something I did forget to mention as well, which we both actually forgot to mention, but I'm not too sure, it might have been said, is obviously tyres. Tyre deg is very, very hard and very, very heavy on this track. So could we see any tyres on that? But as I say that, it's going to be 5 red lights here at Ultimate Masters. Lap number 1 is lights out and away we go. And it's a very even start, you could say, for Frank and K-Gap. K-Gap going defensive into turn 1 actually, and trying around the outside but can't get the move done. Of course, he's on those hard tyres, so K-Gap has a bit of advantage at the moment on those medium tyres, so he'll try to run away if he can. But positions up, left, right and centre. Dan up into P16 ahead of the Aston Martin. Roma down in P16 getting up past Rocco as he down to 17th. And Rocco now back up to 16th. So there's a bit of a spicy battle happening at the back, and there's yellow flag. Someone's round, and it's actually going to be Rocco, who's now down to P20 as Nos makes the position up to P17. Ruby up to 11th. Same with his multiple drivers like NLR, Don. It's all kicking off on lap 1. There's positions left, right and centre. Hen as well having a bit of a spicy battle with the Aston Martin on the run down to turn number 12 now. Who is going to be last on the brakes as we see Luca from P8 up to P4 on this lap. Absolutely flying, but he is on those soft compound tyres. That's why he's flying at this moment. So bit of an interesting gamble for CPI to slap one of their drivers on the soft tyres. So we'll see how they can do and what they can produce as the Aston Martin's going a bit of a spicy battle, and then the Haas up the inside almost. But the Aston Martin with the switchback. Oh, as the Haas gets the squiggly exit there. And there could be 2 positions lost in one corner as through goes Don up into P10. And you don't really see overtaking opportunities there much, but that was a crazy lap 1, Mike. What would you say? What would you say about that, huh?
Yeah, if you're a CPA fan, that's a very good lap 1 for you. Big Gat keeping the race lead, and of course Luca now having a look down the inside. Sweet crown into turn number 1, and it's so close between the pair of them. Yeah, and of course a fantastic battle going on for, I believe it's P6, 7 and 8 right now, with both of the Aston Martins and the Alfa Romeo in the mix, and you got the Ferrari and the LRN driver of Dominique in behind.
It's all spicy, and this is only lap 1. Like I said, you get awesome racing here, especially when it's a very competitive grid. It's all about that S section. Every driver that I've watched commentating real life F1 always takes the line different, 110%. So yeah, it's interesting and crazy as we now see Luca up into P3. He is flying on that soft compounded tyres. Like, that is absolutely insane. So next is Frank. If he gets past Frank, his teammate may back off just a little bit and try and pull Luca away, so he can get that strategy done and see how he gets on. But that is absolutely insane.
Yeah, Luca flying up the order now on those soft tyres. He does have a nice little bit of a gap to push into now to try and catch up the Frankus up in the second. So we're going to see if the CPI man can push away. Obviously, K-Gap on the medium tyres, and honestly, historically, this is the kind of the point where the soft tyres begin to overheat quite a bit. And I mentioned it earlier about the tyre temperatures, as we see the Donny getting through on Daniel, and Daniel coming right back at him. So an lovely battle between the Ferrari and the Alpine there, coming through turns 1 and 2, and it looks like now Donny has to look behind him because Casanova's sneaking around there.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. Like, obviously, I was trying to say about tyre zig, but then we had, the 5 red lights, and that kind of cut me off there. But obviously, tyre zig quite heavy on this track and hard for drivers to try and keep the tyre zig down. So medium and hard tyres could be around about the same level, but in the background, up ahead, we've got the Red Bull under pressure from Sweet Crown. We've got Roma making it up to P15 in the background, getting past the McLaren. and Don not making any challenging moves yet. Now in Sector 3, is any overtaking opportunities available? Maybe a lunge up the inside. Nothing just yet, as we know that's quite a common corner, which is going to be turn number, I think, 15. It's kind of like, you know, a common corner where you see lunges from esports drivers or anybody up the inside and trying to take that away from them, but nothing just yet, because obviously he's not close enough to make the move. And yeah, but so far, it's just a really big DRS train, so not much to really say. Obviously, both McLarens that we're keeping our eyes peeled on, only P16 and 17 at the moment, but it's just a relentless battle between these two here. Like, you know, the Mercedes, you know, just chilling in the background, you know, trying to get past the McLaren getting past the Mercedes. It's like a duel for DRS and position on track. We see Rocco get ahead there of Man now in that Mercedes, and Luca up into Rocco up into P19, and trying to regain of where he was, as I believe he's lost quite a few positions there, position change wise, and he's lost, he's only lost one position, so it wasn't as bad as I thought, but obviously if he has damage that could affect him just a little bit. But having a look at tyres, shall we have a look at tyres? I think we should indeed. There is your... Oh, he did go down the inside. That's quite a sweet move there. And now Luca under pressure from Sweet Crown, as Sweet Crown now gets up into P3 on those hard tyres. But look at that gamble there. You know, so everyone on the hards, or majority of grid on the hards, and then the second majority is obviously medium tyres, and then there's only one driver on the soft compound tyre. And what's actually surprised me, as tyre tech is really high on this track, is Luca starting to struggle with the tyres, as Sweet Crown is starting to pull away a bit, and the gap's now opening up to about 5/10. So are those soft tyres now screaming for help on lap number 5 out of 28? What do you say?
Well, I mean, it definitely the tyres are beginning to fall away, but in terms of it being a tyre deg issue, I don't think it's degradation that's the main issue around this track. It's always been the temperatures, because it's so easy to overheat the tyres. Of course, that does add to the tyre degradation, but when your tyres are too hot, you have less grip anyway. You're going to start to slide around. So, I mean, Luca opting for the soft tyres. He's definitely put himself under the cosh a little bit, as he'll now be fighting tyre temperatures, and having dirty air pushed onto him now from Sweet Crown, that's going to exacerbate it even more.
That is very true, and what's actually surprised me is that K-gap in P1, there's a gap roughly about 3.2 seconds, and I thought that gap would open up on those medium tyres, but the gap isn't actually that massive as I thought, so that's quite interesting to note, as we see Thor now get up to P7, past Hen now, who's been demoted down to P8. So that was a lovely and easy move by the Aston Martin. Of course, the Alfa Romeo driver didn't really fight that one really hard, because obviously if you fight on this track and you fight elsewhere on the track, like this track, elsewhere, whatever part of the track, or any different track, you're going to struggle, because then you're fighting for no reason and you're just losing time to the car ahead. And what's now caught my eyes is that Williams driver of Boy has really caught the rear wing of Luca, so we could see the Williams go for a switch. I say that Luca's in the pit lane only on lap number 6, so
yeah,
now
it's
aggressive. It's probably going to be hard tyres. Are we really to the end on hards? It's going to be mediums. It's medium tyres. So surely they've got to make another stop. If not, if they're going to attempt to go to the end on those tyres, that'd be a pretty impressive drive there. As we see a Ferrari Senna round or lost the back end, as I see a bit of wing damage. I think he might actually have damage on his wing, and he does not. But someone in that spin around, or should I say spin around, in that collision has lost a bit of wing damage, but I don't think Senna will be happy with that. Down to P20. Not ideal for the Ferrari man.
No. For the ERT driver down there towards the back, and of course behind Luca, who has made a pit stop. That just shows how much that incident has affected him. But yeah, I mean, honestly, getting to the end on the set of the mediums, Tom, here might be a big ask, but as long as he has good tyre temperatures, he may just be able to stretch the mediums out far enough. I do know that you can take mediums quite a long way, but obviously they do drop off compared to the hard tyres. It's going to be all about whether he has the tyre temperatures. And considering that he took the softs 5 laps, and obviously he was starting to fall away on lap 4 in terms of the deg on those tyres. But yeah, I mean, he could have good tyre temperatures, especially for the mediums, so we'll have to wait and see. First time penalty though for what's called Henke, and of course VMV Noski.
Yeah, those two got slam dunk the time penalty with that. That's not ideal, because with that, they're going to have to push a little bit harder and a little bit more to try and build that gap up. So, yeah, not ideal, but it is what it is at the end of the day. Of course, they've just got to push a little bit harder and see how they get on. But can we talk about Luca at the moment? P18, but he's already catched up to this train, so he is pushing probably like mad. His battery level probably low, and it's not as low as I was thinking, but it's marginal, you could say. But that is, you know, a fantastic race pace there. Luca already about to be behind this train and might actually secure P1 when his teammate comes into the pit lane, because surely that would happen, right? Because look how close he is at the back. Like, he is surely gonna overcut everyone. As overcut in this game is so powerful. Absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Well, it's going to be an interesting one. Obviously, he has another 3 seconds to push into before he catches on the back of the velocity guy there of Manduka. And obviously, once he overtakes Manduka, he's got another 4-second gap to push into. That's a lot of clear air on fresh mediums to push into. So,
yeah,
definitely could be within a shout of jumping his teammate.
That is very true, but then something you're forgetting about is tyre deg. His tyres are going to be absolutely horrendous and absolutely feeling horrible when we get towards the end of this race. So is that going to be another issue for CPI? Are they going to have to box again and hope the gap is big enough, and then box the soft tyres and just see how they get on and just fly on the track? You know, that's something we've also got to look out for. But you know, we're going to keep our eyes on Luca, and we're going to keep an eye out to see how long K-Gat can go on those medium tyres. So he's done it for around about, I believe, is that 7-8 laps he's done it for? Yeah, he's been on those mediums for around about 7 laps. So we keep an eye on P1, and of course the other drivers which are down in P7, 14, 16, 8, 19th, excluding 18th, as their mediums are quite fresh. But keep an eye on those drivers, see when they box on those tyres, to see if Luca could potentially make it to the end, or if he's got a box again and go for the soft tyre, which I think is going to be a high chance that he'll have to box, because tyre wear will be a bit too difficult. So we've got a spicy battle here, and that is Rocco going up the inside there, and that was a lovely move. 15 now. He's actually going to make a lunge on the Mercedes as well. Like I said, you can make positions here and lunges if you want to, but it can give you a slight horrible exit. In the process, he's not managed to get past that Mercedes, but surely he'll manage to get past here, and he's actually going to look up at turn 19, and that's the Mercedes slightly off the track there. So that was really hard racing. Probably be a Stewart report, hopefully not though, but we'll find out what happens, as Don has managed to get past that Alfa Romeo for P number 8. So maybe these hard tyres now coming into action and now coming into play as Luca gets past that Mercedes for 17th.
Yeah,
So
now we're going to
having a good
see.
race.
Now we're going to see if Luca, how quickly he's going to catch up to the back of this train in front of him. Obviously, it is the train of the battle that we just seen with Rocco, Matthias Roma, and of course Noski there. So once it goes up to the back of them, maybe they'll be getting out of the way, possibly, coming into the pit lane. But considering that I believe all 3 of them are on hard compound tyres, they may be stretching it to around lap 18 for the first pit stops.
Yeah, that potentially could be, as we see
Ooh,
Ruby make a
actually.
position up into P9 now, or P8 shall I say, sorry. And that is that is really late on the brakes there at turn number 12. That was a very desperate move, but Saying that, the Alpine, if he's close enough, might make a desperate lunge up at 15. Let's see what happens. And is he? No, he's going to stay behind, actually, and not make that desperate lunge, as I thought he was, but never mind. He'll stay behind for now. And drivers now starting to find a little bit more race pace and get a little bit faster. But those hards, I believe they're coming into play now. They should be in full action and ready to go. As 4 tenths is the gap, now 3 tenths behind the Aston Martin boy is right now. So he may look for a lunge or a move very, very shortly, but we'll see what happens there as Casanova makes position up into P10, getting past Hen, who's now dropped to P11, so maybe he's now starting to struggle on the tyre temps and tyre wear, but shouldn't be, but we'll see what happens. Senna is into pit lane on those medium tyres after 10 laps and has retired from the session, so that's actually going to be them done and dusted. And that is now Lyles with a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings on the track, but not keeping it on the track. So, yeah, not ideal, but it is what it is. But
Yeah.
that gap from P16 is slowly disintegrating and coming down. And Luca he's maintaining battery. He's not using much of it, he's just chilling, you know. Obviously, he doesn't want to push too hard, so he doesn't burn those tyres out completely. But it's not doing too bad as Don, once again, back up into P8 now, getting past Ruby once again. Had a bit of a squiggly moment there as we saw the rear end just was not happy and behaving with that car. So, any desperate lunges happening at turn 15? The Williams was looking, you know. The Williams was looking. Going backwards quick towards the back of the pack. Any desperate lunges? No. Just Luca flying on those tyres and having an incredible race pace at the moment, but that will run out very, very shortly when he does. But actually saying that, K-Gat into the pit lane now on those old medium tyres to go for another set of the medium. So it looks like CPI going for the 2-stop strategy at Texas today, as his teammate is now about to round, I'll say round, he's already rounded the final corner, but K-Gat will come ahead of his teammate, and Luca 15th at the moment, and I believe did a lot pit there or not? I'm going to actually have a look there. Only 2 drivers did, as never mind. Noski is retired in the pit lane. They are done and dusted for today's race. So, yeah, they've had a decent amount of racing, but I just don't think they, you know, I think they're thinking they didn't really have the race pace and didn't really have a challenge, but they had a good battles, you know. That was awesome to see from those drivers. But now K-Gat already up into P11, making desperate moves on this lap and his out lap. Now making a move for P10, and he does secure that one. Flying on those tyres, but hang on a minute. Alfa Romeo fighting back here. Down to turn 12 we go. Late on the brakes. Obviously those mediums will be into play. And he has passed the Alfa Romeo. His teammate, however, down in 14th, so make that 13th. Late on the brakes once again at 12. He's going to try and challenge the Red Bull. This actually isn't going to help him, as it's actually holding him up. So Red Bull, excellent defending there. And Luca trying the switch back and not getting the move done. So not ideal, as we've got a Hen who's actually spun there at turn number 16 and 17. Not ideal, and not really a corner where you want to spin. But Luca stuck behind that Red Bull, was looking for a lunge there, but wasn't close enough to get it done. But surely he should get done, get the move done here. Fingers crossed, as we see K-Gat now up into P7. So he is making some desperate moves and track position as he needs to fly on those tyres right about now. But Luca still stuck behind that Red Bull, which has actually surprised me. So on the exit of turn number 1, this is really holding him up. Really holding him up.
Yeah, 100%. And obviously, getting stuck behind the Red Bull is obviously not going to be helping Luca, because this could cost him in terms of getting ahead of Frankis and, of course, Sweetcrown as well. So Rocco actually doing what he needs to do. And that is just compiling the issues for Luca. And, of course, CPI, the relentless drivers, are working together here and trying to back up the CPI driver.
Yeah, that's what's interesting to note, of course. I believe it's CPI who are leading the constructors, and Relentless only 2 points behind. So I can understand, you know, spicy positions coming into play. So it's all happening. It's all happening on lap number 12 and previous laps, but finally Luca has got around that Red Bull, and now he can push in free air and try and close the gap up a bit and try and close the time that he's lost. Fingers crossed he can. But no one else into the pit lane yet. So obviously that's interesting to note. So it looks like it's going to try and be a one-stop strategy for the drivers on the hards. Obviously, that would be a thing, you know, a one-stop strategy on those hards is possible. And we are seeing that someone is going for a 2-stop in this race. So that's awesome to see. Yeah, this is going to be fun to watch. Fun to watch indeed. And apparently it's going to be KGAT who's going for the 2-stop. So I wonder how they'll get on. Do you think it'll be softs till the end? I believe it will. You know, lap 20, lap 21, they might box and go softs for 8-7 laps. I think they can last that long, right?
I mean, they'll approaching the end. Well, they'll be approaching the end of the usable life by the time you get around 5-6 laps on them, and especially with how the tires overheat around you, which is going to be another issue for these guys altogether.
Yeah.
We're going to see what is going to be like out there on track now, as Senna just leaving the session. Mateus Roma getting through on Rocco for P13 as well. I don't think we'll see many go on to the soft tires, but I mean, I have been wrong many times so far this season, and I think I could...
You never know. You never know. It could happen, you know, and that's what we like to see, and we like to watch. So you never know. You can always be wrong. Sometimes you can be right. It may not be the right tyres to be on, of course, but nevertheless, we see what happens and we strive as we see KGAT now up into P5. So Mike, he is, I believe that AlphaTauri driver is on a mission right now. P5, he is flying.
Yeah, absolutely. He is flying on his fresh mediums. He is getting right onto the back of the Aston Martin X Troaf. I am terrible when it comes to pronouncing names, especially if they're difficult to pronounce. But here we go, KGAT on the back of the Aston Martin. He's going to look. He's going to look to the outside, going into turn number 11, outbreaking the Aston Martin. No contact made, and what a move that is from KGAT.
I mean, that was a lovely move, and that lovely camera angle or helicopter cam we got was fantastic. And now that Sweet Crown back into P2, and they are really closing in on Frank now, ever so slightly. So they're trying to do their best, but our main eyes are settled on this AlphaTauri driver in P4, going for the 2-stop strategy now. And yeah, so it's going well for him so far. And Luca playing the long game on those medium tyres.
Hang on, here comes KGAT. He's going side by side with GN and the...
oh my goodness.
He's going around the outside through the triple left-hander. Absolutely fantastic from the CPI driver. And he's up. Well, it'll effectively be the net race lead now, because Frankis and Sweet Crown have both come into the pits.
I did not expect that move there, to be honest. Like, what's going on here? That was fantastic. I thought he was going to wait until lap number 15 to get past that Aston Martin. But that, like I said, that driver, he's on a mission. He's like a man on a mission. And now we ride on board with Luca to see, are they going to get ahead of these drivers? Of course, Luca will get ahead up into P10, but it's a bit of a spicy battle with Dan at the moment. So we'll see if they can get by very, very shortly. But Luca could be in a bit of a struggle here, as obviously you've got Frank and Sweet Crown, which have now exited the pit lane, but they're not that far away from Luca. So Luca definitely in threat of them overcutting him when he goes for his box, if he's going for a second box. If not, then he's got a lot to do to, you know, maintain and save those tyres a little bit more. But what's interesting, right?
Oh, Frank is down the inside of Rocco into turn 11, so he cut you off there as Rocco tries to get a better run up the corner, and this is crucial for his teammate to try and get back ahead of Frank, so he can try and hold up the Haas driver, the NLR driver. But look at this, he's going to move out the way of his teammate now because he knows he can't get that position back. And the red light flashing on the back of Frankis's car, that indicates for Sweet Crown is game on. 62% ERS to the Red Bull's name right now. And he is going to be chomping at the bit now to get through on Frankis.
Indeed, he is. And what I was saying about being interesting is the fact that K gets into the pit lane probably for hard tyres, but he's 4 laps right down, so 4 laps on those tyres, and he's managed to get ahead of Luca on 9-lap medium tyres. So now everybody into the pit lane now, probably for the one-stop strategy. If we're on the hard tyres, Luca, where's he going to play out here, and where's everybody else going to play out? Like, that's the interesting
Lucas.
part.
Oh, Sweet Crown making the move on Frankis down the inside into turn 1. Sweet Crown getting the double toe down the inside. He goes up into a net P4 as it currently stands, because obviously Daniel and Luca up ahead of these two battling out for 6th and 7th. But what a move, and that was very well timed from Sweet Crown. And now he can try and push to go into the back of Luca, because Luca's tyres are 10 laps old. Sweet Crown will have the superior grip, and of course Luca will have to make another pit stop, whereas Sweet Crown can probably go to the end.
You know what's happening, don't you? You know what's going to happen, don't you? Right, Luca is going to do a Sergio Perez, 100%, because if the chat is telling me, I believe it's Finley is telling me that K-Gap is on a 2-stop strategy, right? Luca needs to hold up Frank and Sweet Crown behind, because obviously right now, if K-Gap was to box, say now, obviously Sweet Crown, Luca and Frank would overcut him. So Luca, if he's going to defend, he's got to do it now. But saying that, Frank is all over the rear wing of that AlphaTauri. So Luca with a lot of work to do. Frank was trying there into turn 20 to get a move done there, but didn't get it done. We'll see a few more drivers into pit lane. But here goes Luca, going defensive at turn 1. Here comes Sweet Crown.
He's going to have a look. Way wide into turn 1 almost, and look at that. Sweet Crown down the inside of the pavement. Gets the move done. Frankis with superior traction on the exit. Gets that move up in the P4, goes to Haas driver.
Luca losing 2 positions at turn 1. That's not ideal, but he has got some battery, and Frank as well with not much battery, but Sweet Crown with a lot of battery there. So if Luca can hold on to these 2 up ahead, he might go for a desperate lunge into turn 12 to try and hold them up, but the gap is ever so, opening up. So yeah.
Well, I mean, looking at the gap between Sweet Crown and K-Gad, obviously the gap being about 16.5 seconds as it currently stands, with Daniel being 14 seconds off the back of K-Gad. If K-Gad was to pick in the next lap or 2, he'd come out around P6, P7, and of course on fresh tyres he will definitely have the grip to come back through, and obviously if he's on softs towards the end, he'll definitely have a grip to come back through. So this is going to get interesting. K-Gad going for that 2-stop strategy. It could come back and bite him, but it's also going to throw a very exciting end to the race.
That is very true, and there's a spicy battle for P8, P9, and that was the Aston Martin getting around the Williams, I believe, in Sector 3 around 14 and 15, but that Williams right onto the back of that Aston Martin, and Luca's into the pit lane.
Yep, Luca making his second pit stop. This will obviously be for another set of medium compound tyres. Shouldn't be taking the softs 10 laps, so
here we go then. Now it's game on for Luca to see what kind of moves he can make up. Let's see what he can do and what he can produce, and then ever so slightly and slowly K-Gap should be able to
Daniel with a 3-second time penalty as same with Casanova, as I've just looked at how much time Luca lost in the pit lane. Obviously it was around 17 seconds off the back of K-Cat, and he's 37 seconds off the back of him now, so a 20-second gap is needed. And currently, if K-Gap was to come into the pits, we would come out in P5.
Frank actually sorry to cut you off there, but Frank and Sweet Crown going at it again. This is what K-Gan needs. He needs these two to start fighting. But Frank, he went for a bit of a lunge there, but he's not close enough to get a lunge done here. But obviously, like I said, Dan with that time penalty, that's not ideal, is it? That's really, really hindered his race just a little bit. Just slightly. Just a slight tad.
Yep, absolutely. And lap 19 out of 28, K-Gat still leads the way. The gap is 14.5 seconds. And you got Sweet Crown, Frankis, and Daniel all scrapping it out for potential podium. Obviously, Daniel in a bit of a sticky situation. Sweet Crown down the inside into turn 1. Job done for the relentless driver. Up in the P2 goes Sweet Crown. And now he has an opportunity to try and pull away from not only Daniel, but also Frankis as well.
Yeah, it's this crazy stuff all happens towards the end of this race. It's absolutely crazy.
Well,
absolutely crazy.
This is going to be an interesting thing now because, obviously, as I mentioned, the pit loss around here is around about 20 seconds. We saw that with Luca when he came into the pits. K-Gat, as Frank is going to make a move on the Ferrari down in towards turn 12. K-Gat, for example, currently has a 21-second gap over the Williams in P6. And obviously the Williams is on fresher tyres. That gap is closing. So K-Gat, if he decides to extend these tyres an extra 3-4 laps, he could end up behind the Williams and maybe even behind the second Aston Martin as well.
Yeah, 100%. So we'll see what happens there. But it's going to be a spicy battle towards the end, I'd say. Spicy when AlphaTauri driver in P1 goes into the pit lane, if he is. But looking at tyres, he's on 9-lap tyres, so can he survive for another 8 laps? Is that pushing it? He should be able to, right? Like,
they'll be at the edge.
Yeah,
they'll be on the edge in terms of puncher territory by that time, but also he's just gonna absolutely hemorrhage time the Sweet Crown, Frankis, and obviously Danielle. Actually, maybe not so much Danielle, because Danielle's also on the 9-lap all mediums, but he is just gonna hemorrhage time if he decides to stay out for the remainder of this race. But it is possible to take him to the end from here.
Yeah, very, very true. So let's see what happens. On board with Luca, he's making some good progress at the moment. You know, on those medium tyres, burning that battery, putting those mediums to really good use right about now. Trying to continue and go for, obviously, 13th at the moment. But obviously, towards the end of this race, drivers on old tyres will struggle a little bit more than Luca. What's interesting though is Rocco is on those soft tyres, and I don't know how long he's been on those tyres for. He's done 4 laps, so he's boxed again, and those tyres will not survive. Well, they will survive, but they'll be very, very wary and just feel absolutely disgraceful towards the end of the race. Probably puncture territory. So yeah. Anyways then. Having a look elsewhere on the Traco, Dan is actually in the pit lane once again for those medium tyres. And he's now going for the soft compound tyres. So now he's going to have a lot of work to do and push for position. Will that help Luca though? Will Luca get ahead of this Ferrari? That's going to be the crucial part in this race. Is he going to do it? Is he going to get it done? He's got DRS on the Red Bull up ahead down to turn 1. He's going to get that move done. And he is just about, like you said, going to get past the Ferrari. Whoa, that was on the line, but what isn't ideal is that Ferrari's on a fresh set of soft tyres.
Mercedes around the outside of turn 1, now side by side there.
Well, still going for it, but Mercedes backs off, and Dan into P14 now. But Luca with competition behind now, and he could use that to his advantage, you know. He could use that because he could get Dan to get ahead of him and use him as a tow if Luca can stay within DRS range. Obviously, grip difference on the tyres, that's going to be the crucial part. The crucial part.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Daniel all over the back, pushing Rocco through turning 11 there, and this is going to be as simple as you like. Job done. And with DRS, he's going to close right onto the back of Luca. Maybe have a look down the inside. Luca goes defensive. And Daniel around the outside into turn 12. That's how much overspeed the Ferrari had. And Kega is into the pit. So now we're going to see where the race leader comes out relative to his contenders for this race win. As Sweet Crown will take the race lead now. As you just spotted something?
No, I was when he went, I didn't realise that the AlphaTauri was into the pit lane, so now it gets a bit spicy, shall we say. And now all eyes are set on the AlphaTauri in P4.
Yeah, and he comes out just ahead of the Aston Martin in P5. So comes out in P4, does Kgat, and it is exactly where I said that he would come out to. Obviously, Danielle making that pit stop obviously bumped him up an extra position, but he did come out in that window, and he is rapidly closing onto the back of Bottlet. But will he have enough in those tyres to not only catch Sweet Crown and Frankis, but overtake him and stay ahead of him towards the end of this race? That is the questions that we are going to get.
22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. 6 laps on those tyres.
Look how bad the Roccos are at the moment.
Let's have a look, shall we? How bad are they? Oh, yeah. Damn.
Remember, he's only just been overtaken by Luca, and he's dropped near enough 2 seconds off the back of Luca. Because remember, Daniel just overtook Luca, and Daniel making a move on Margin as Kgat gets the move done on Bottlet. Up into P3 goes the AlphaTauri. But yeah, I mean, you're seeing that right there, Rocco on 6-lap-old soft tyres. His tyres are falling away from the likes of Luca and Danielle massively, and by the time we get to the end of this race, Kgat's tyres are going to be similar regions. So it's a case of will Sweetground and Frankis have enough to come back at him at the end of this race, because he is going to close up. The question is, will he be able to overtake?
I think he'll be able to overtake, but now the big chance is obviously because Kgat pushing hard on those tyres. The only issue is if Franks and Sweet Crown play it to perfection, play it smartly, they could use DRS on the back straights to pull away, but at the way it's going, he's going to have DRS this lap. Look at it, just look at that. He's already in a second. So soft tyres, brand new softs coming into play here. So top 3 could definitely get spicy. What do you say? What do you say right about now? Look at that. He's already 2/10 behind P2. And he's going to look for a move, actually. And it could actually be P1. If you get 2 moves done in 1, he's actually going to try. Down to turn 12. Look at that. He's trying to get it done. Sweet Crown down the inside, though. There is marginal slight contact, but gets the move done. Holy moly potatoes. That was insane. I was not expecting that. Don't know about you, Mike, but that was something at the exit of turn 11 there. Deployment of battery. Wow, that was impressive. Mightily impressive.
Yeah, I mean, Kgat's battery usage has been absolutely tremendous, and in this final stage, it's definitely had a lot more than what Sweet Crown and Frankis had to make that double overtake, and of course, a fastest lap of the race for the race leader. And here's the thing now, I mean, Kgat is going to be able to pull away on those tyres, but for how long is he going to be able to pull away? Because we can see just how quickly those soft tyres fall off after a few laps. Obviously, lowest fuel now, so he has a better chance of getting to the end without losing the pace completely. But will Sweetground and Frankis come back at him by the end of this race? Both of them will be able to DRS each other, trying to come back. But, I mean, Kgat right now in a bit of a world of his own, and the only thing that's going to stop him is if those tyres completely fall off at the end of this race.
But looking at it the way it is now, I don't think this tyre's going to fall off. He is just absolutely flying right now. On the run down to turn 12, we'll only know if he's flying if he's going purple. So, my bet is he's definitely gone purple, because he's probably pushing for fastest lap for any extra point he can scramble. And it's not purple, but he's probably not purple because he's probably just chilling and just not needing to push so hard, because he might try and go for the last lap dash and try to get the lap then, but you never know. But The gap is now 4 seconds. That's crazy.
Yeah, Kigat already has the fastest lap in the race, so he's not got to push for fastest lap. It is considerably quicker than the rest of the grids. Obviously, he's about he's over a second quicker than Danielle's fastest lap, who's the only other driver that's below a 1:35 in this race in terms of the fastest lap. Kigat only done a 33.2, so that's going to take some beating to try and take that fastest lap from Kigat. And yeah, I think Kigat's got the fastest lap secured. It's just about getting these tyres to the end.
Yeah, I believe that's the possibility we're going to see, but it all comes down to obviously the end of the race. But as we're seeing so far, you know, that AlphaTauri driver is just absolutely flying, and there's nothing stopping that. But Frank right now, lap 25 on those medium compound tyres, he's in a good position to strike and try and get ahead of Sweet Crown, but he's not going to get it done yet. Not just yet. Luca right now, P12. The gap for him is around about 4 seconds behind. He is running at a lap time. Obviously, drivers do score points at every position, so don't count that out. But Luca will try to strive and get a few more, but the way it's going, it doesn't seem he'll be able to gain a lot more. But it's all about tyre wear and what tyres can do. So if tyres really drop off all these drivers on such and such laps, then Luca could be in a marginal window here, but at the moment it doesn't look like it. The driver that is flying at the moment on those soft tyres is Dan, and he's been on those tyres for 4 laps at the moment, so 1 lap extra than Kigat. So we'll also keep an eye on him to see what his race pace is like and see if it drops off towards the end. Of course, tyre wear could be a bit marginal, but let's see what happens. But so far, he still looks like he's pushing really, really hard, and there's no issues there. And he might get a few moves done at turn 1, a bit of a lunge. He's got the battery switched on, so he's definitely pushing hard.
Yeah, I mean, as it currently stands, I think Kigat should be okay. Now, obviously, the only thing that could go against him here is if he makes a mistake, picks up a 3-second time penalty, his tyres drop off massively. But considering we've only got 3 racing laps to go, including the one that we are currently on, likelihood of that is pretty slim. But in terms of the team championship, and this is crucial, Francis, if he finishes ahead of Sweet Crown, obviously that means Kigat outscores Sweet Crown by 10 points in this race. It'll be 12, because obviously pole position was of course Kigat, and of course the fastest lap is currently with Kigat as well. So that's 12 points already in favour of CPI. And then when you look at Luca being in P12 and obviously Rocco down in P15, that is 8 points for Luca and only 5 for Rocco. That's an extra 3 points advantage. So that's 15 points to the good for CPI as it currently stands. What's called if Francis gets ahead of Sweet Crown here. Obviously, it'll be down to just a 10-point game if Sweet Crown manages to stay ahead of the NLR driver.
Yeah, and there's a bit of a spicy battle down in Sector 3 now, and that's Dan getting around for P9. I realised he's got 3-second time penalty, so he's got a lot of runaway to do to try and keep some decent positions. Now that's Don being a slam dunk time penalty in P8 behind his teammate.
You mean behind the Williams?
Oh, behind the Williams, yeah, sorry. I don't know, I'm still a bit tired, you know. Still trying to, you know, I've been at work, I've been awake since 2:45, went a bit for a nap, but that didn't really help, shall we say. But, yeah, P10 and 11, or not P10 and 11, or 10 and 9, sorry. They are really going at it right now, and they're fighting out hard on track, going for really decent, you know, gaps, clean racing, but overall an excellent fight. And both Williams 7th and 6th at the moment. No penalties applied to their names, so if they finish in that order, that's some very good scoring points for them. And then lap 27, penultimate lap of the race now. Frank still is securely in P3, but is it going to be a spicy battle for P number 2 as we see Ruby up into P6 and the Haas, oh not Haas, sorry, the Williams going completely off track there. I believe was that Don making some contact and the Williams just couldn't
No,
save it, or
Williams,
what happened there?
what's called the Williams just went straight on at the track. Dom had a little peek down the inside into turn 12. No contact made from my eyes and that on it, but obviously G-Boy obviously staying off track to not rejoin dangerously.
Yeah.
And considering that the three drivers in front of him do have time penalties, and he's just picked one up as well. Oh yeah, penalty free. And what this does, it brings Spec Lap in a position where he can jump up into P7 here, because he's only 1.6 off the back of this train.
That is very true.
He can jump up a few places, and let's not forget Luca as well. I mean, obviously he's not going to jump up as many places as Spec Lap, but if he can get close enough on this final lap, he may be able to gain one extra position out of this. But final lap of the Frankis, last opportunity as they run down towards turn 11 right now. And
I can sense a very desperate lunge about to happen. I don't know about you, but I think it's going to happen. So here we go. DRS switched on for the Haas. Oh, wrong camera.
Here we go.
Here we go. Is he going to do it? Is he going to do it? He's going to try. There's contact. Down to 12. The Red Bull stuck behind at the moment and can't get the move done. Let's just remember the Aston Martin in P4 is following very closely at this moment behind. So if they make major errors, then the Aston Martins could spoil the party and spoil the fun. The Red Bull is in lock for P3 at this moment, might make a desperate lunge, but it looks like Frank is just a little bit too far ahead, but we never know here at Ultimate Masters if the Red Bull might go for the lunge, and he isn't. So K-Gap will take the win with 13-second lead of a gap. Haas in P2, P3 goes to Sweet Count, P4 and 5 Aston Martin, and there's a little bit of a lovely train happening behind, but if Spec can keep it all together, he jumps up to P7. Amazing.
Does Luca jump up any places? No, he does not. There was just 3-second time penalties for everyone in that train. Martian in 13th, Roma in 14th, Rocco punches, he crosses the line there. I just noticed, 13 laps on those softs definitely were not the way to go for the relentless driver, but yeah, big game for CPI in terms of the championship. That's 15 points to the good now for them.
Yeah, they'll be very, very happy with that, taking a big chunk of points. That's what we like to see, and that's when it gets all spicy and down to the wire, shall we say. But I'm looking forward to the next one. That's going to be fun. Really, really fun. So, Mike, what is your overall outcome on that race today?
Well, I mean, it's one of those races where it's always an interesting one to commentate over, especially with the tyre strategy. So, I mean, I think we got exactly what we signed up for, a very strategic race. The one-stop versus the two-stop. Obviously, CPI, obviously, K-Gat having absolute insane pace around here to essentially pull such a gap on the first pit stop, and that when he came in the second time, he wasn't too far off the back of these guys. But I'll let you run through the order before I close up my thoughts.
Yeah, can do. And having a look at this fantastic, phenomenal battle and race today with qualifying as well. K-Gat is P1, followed by the Haas in P2. P3 is Sweet Crown. Jeaton in P4, and then his teammate in the Aston Martin in P5, Ruby P6 in the Williams, Spec and Don 7th and 8th, Ferrari Dan in P9, 10th for Casanova, and that rounds out your top 10. But of course, everyone gets points here at Ultra Masters. Of course, it is a team fight here for the most points and constructors. So really, it doesn't really depend on driver championship. It's more focused around the constructors. But that was fantastic battling today. But yeah, let's find out what's going to happen next week, because that is Texas done and dusted, and it for now, shall we say. But that was awesome. And there's actually a race with no safety car as well. With no safety car.
Absolutely, no safety cars came out. Not even a virtual safety car came out. Only the occasional yellow flag, but obviously a very clean race in terms of lack of safety cars. But honestly, I'm very intrigued now
Yes.
going into what is, of course, going to be the final 4 races of the season, because we know what track is up next, and it's a cracker.
Go on. Go on. Announce it. Go on. What's it going to be? What's it going to be?
Next week, we are heading south from Texas. We're going to continue south through Mexico, travel into South America, because we are going to Brazil for
What a track.
Interlagos next time out.
That track, that can provide some incredible and fascinating content. And if you guys do not believe us, I'll show you right now on stream that we are heading to Interlagos, Brazil, for the next race, because it says right there on the calendar we're going there. So that means we're going there. So strap tight.
Honestly,
It's going to be a long ride. It's a fantastic race. But as you were saying,
yeah, honestly, for us as commentators, and of course you as viewers out there, I think we have to do our best Fernando Alonso impersonations, get the deck chairs out, because it's going to be an absolute cracker.
that is very, very true. And that is really going to wrap everything up for today's stream. So we hope you enjoyed Texas today for round number 6 of Ultimate Masters. Like Mike said, 4 races to go until the end of this season. It's been a cracker. Obviously, the constructors getting a bit high and a bit tight now. P3 a little bit off after round number 5, but P2 and 1, 2 points separate the top 2. That's what we like to watch, and that's what we're excited for, aren't we, Mike? So we'll see what happens at Interlagos, Brazil. But Mike, before we run away, is there anything else you'd like to say? Anything else at all?
I think the only thing is obviously just absolutely incredible race. Obviously, I have to give my driver of the day. I'm going to give it to obviously Kigat. Absolutely impervious drive out there. I don't think we could give it to anyone other than the CPI driver. And yeah, we'll catch you next week for round number 7 at Brazil.
Well then, guys, you've been awesome. You've been amazing. It's been me, your lead commentator, Mr. Flynn, and then Mike, who will be here for me for the rest of the season. Fingers crossed, and maybe next season, Mike. Do you think he'll be here? Without a doubt. What are you thinking? Or do we need to give it a few weeks first?
We have to play it by ear.
Play it by ear. Well, we'll see what happens. We'll see you guys next week. And you've been awesome. Take care. And as always, peace.
They been on their ass, bitch, I'm on the rail. I wrap it, I bag it, I pack it for sale. Got feeling on speed out, hit me to chill. I give it a thrill, I put it on film. Niggas facade, get applaud, that ain't real. Come to my section and flex, we can tell. I got a show and she dipping them nails. I'm flipping my L's, I know they can tell. I did it too major, they hit me for favors. Been him since the cable was cut in the cradle. What's up, only right that I do it. Colossal until I'm a boss, so they want me to fail. Look, we prevail. Tell them to point out who said that they run it. Bitch, I'm on your tail. Know that they talking, they telling them tales. It's not how to tell, that shit for the sale. Yeah.
Honestly, I know it's hard to believe, but you have to trust me. It's got maximum taste and 0 sugar.
Stop playing games, wooden boy.
No, I'm a real boy.
Pepsi Max. Maximum taste, 0 sugar. Try and believe.
What do you see here? Maybe history, or maybe it's the future.
Amarti mi consola. Amami ancora, fallo dolcemente, un anno mezzo, un'ora.
Tonali plug-in hybrid, a new charge of sportiness.